A clip from one of the Deshaun Watson depositions leaked by not his lawyer, but the other side, Tony Busby, who represents the 22 individuals suing Deshaun Watson.
Is that allowed?
Fox 8 in Cleveland. Yes, it is allowed because there's no protective order. I confirmed yesterday. There's no issuance from the court saying this stuff is secret because this is essentially no different than testifying in open court. These are public records. They're free to be filed with court papers. There's nothing that prevents anyone from giving out the transcript, playing the full video if they choose to do it, posting it all on YouTube if they want to. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. But it was Busby who's putting out this edited clip that obviously is aimed at making Deshaun Watson look bad. And on one specific point, here's where it's critical. And I don't know anything about the credibility of the 22 individuals who have sued Deshaun Watson. We've seen no clips from their deposition transcripts, and I don't know if that implies they are credible, they aren't credible, whatever. But credibility is a critical element of a case like this when you take into account the fact that every one of these 22 cases is going to come down to Deshaun Watson's word against the word of the individual, and they were in the room together with no witnesses. Remember, we talked last year at the outset, got to have a witness present for something like this because you never know how it's going to be remembered by the two parties if it's just them later. So, how Deshaun Watson is able to tell a story that is believable is going to be critical in every one of these cases, and there eventually will be, absent a settlement or a dismissal, 22 separate cases. So whether you can be believed on other things is going to be relevant to whether you can be believed on the most important things. You know, Deshaun Watson wants to be able to recite from the card that he had last week, I never assaulted anyone, I never disrespected anyone, I never harassed anyone. Fine. But when you get down to some of these details, like this back and forth, did you find her attractive? Whoa, I've got a girlfriend. Well, really? That's your position? And then you throw on top of it, the admission from his lawyer from last year that some of these massages became consensual sexual encounters. That kind of blows the whole I've got a girlfriend defense out of the water. That's where it can be very, very tricky, and that's where your credibility can be undermined on one point, and that can then be used by a Tony Busby to make an argument to a jury. You know, you're asking yourselves, can we believe this guy when he says nothing happened that shouldn't have happened? But you got to ask yourself, can you really believe him? And here's how you answer that question. On a fairly obvious topic, he said something that's not believable. It's not objectively believable. And look, I don't want to get the hostile text messages and phone calls. You're opposed. I'm not against Deshaun. I'm for the truth. And when I hear that, you know, you kind of want to roll your eyes. Well, did you find her attractive? Well, I wasn't thinking about that. Well, did you, or he avoided the question. That wasn't my question. Did you find her attractive? Well, I've got a girlfriend. Well,
I know, but you're also
wasn't that your reaction when you heard it? Wasn't that your reaction when you heard it?
Going.
Like, come on,
there's
Deshaun.
better ways to answer it. Certainly, there's no doubt. I will say too, though, you know, to defend him in this, you know, you're being coached. You're afraid to say anything. He's afraid to say anything. So that's where it's a little weird too.
Well, that's not how you coach him. You know how you coach him? Because I've had clients who have done that.
Right.
Where they feel like they need to engage in some form of swordplay with the lawyer to try to keep the lawyer from trying to make his point. Like, you get a sense where the lawyer is going. The lawyer is asking you a series of questions that are very well crafted, and it's forcing you into a corner, and you don't like it. So you resist being forced into a corner.
Right.
So it's like, no, just go ahead. I've had to stop depositions. I've had to embellish the urgency to go to the bathroom, to stop a deposition, to get the client out in the hall and tell the client, you got to stop this. You're not trying to win the case through your testimony. All you should be trying to do is answer the questions truthfully. Isn't that what I told you? Answer every question truthfully. I'll deal with whether or not the truth is going to hurt us or help us. But I'm fine with the truth. I know the truth. You've told me the truth. Now go tell him the truth when he asks you the questions. And don't feel like, oh, no, we're losing the case here. I have to push back. That's what happens. That's what happens. And that's one of the challenges of getting someone ready. And it's why I said that week when he was getting ready to be questioned. Remember what I said that week? Remember what I said?
What?
You got deposition. You got depositions coming up. You don't need to be spending
visiting
3 hours
and all that.
Visiting to Zoom meetings with teams, face-to-face meetings with teams. You don't need to be worried about that. You need to be worried about one thing: being ready for this deposition, remembering everything I told you, getting a good night's sleep, and going in there fully aware and cognizant and locked in of what your job is. And it's very simple, but it's also very difficult. Just tell the truth in response to the questions. It becomes difficult when you feel like the lawyer is scoring points and you're making it easier for him because you're giving him the answer that he expects. If it's the truth, it doesn't matter. Give him the answer he expects as long as it's a truthful answer. Yeah. So that's where it gives me concern, because that now will be an 80-pound weight that is dragging on the case when it's time to go to trial.
Yeah. Well, this is like he's going to have this 80-pound weight on him no matter what. Every press conference he has, Mike. I mean, even the one on Friday with the Cleveland Browns. There was some people there who I can't remember exactly what it was. They didn't believe, right, the fact of Cleveland was never out of it, or it was one of those. It was one aspect of
my
that.
contract.
Your
my contract,
right?
The contract wasn't a factor.
It wasn't a factor, right?
Yeah.
Which of course, again, I'm sorry, these are the position Deshaun Watson's in right now, but people look at that and you read comments on social media or your posts, and it's, hey, that's BS. He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a liar. If he lies about that, he'll lie about this, blah, 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 blah. And
that's how it works.
I know.
That's how it works. I know. Well, but why in the world would he say the contract wasn't a factor when it clearly was?
I don't
That's
either.
That's what makes me question his credibility.
I get
and
you.
I know. How dare you? I know I'm going to get the text or the phone call. You're against Deshaun. No. Why didn't somebody tell him to go ahead and say it's okay to say it's about of course it's about the contract.
Of course it is, because he's afraid. He was
out.
afraid to hurt Cleveland's fans and didn't want to make it look like, it was only the money that brought me back here. So, yeah, you talk to anybody that has any knowledge of the situation. The reports that were originally out there, from everything I've been led to believe, were correct. Cleveland was out of it. They had moved on. They were looking at other teams. Then Cleveland realized, oh, crap, we really screwed things up with Baker Mayfield. We got to make him an offer he can't refuse, like Godfather style. That's what they did, right? And then, the other aspect of this is I have a hard time thinking that this isn't going to be something that continues to go on. A release of a video here, a release of a video there. I mean, the cases aren't settled. If I'm Tony Busby, this is what I'm going to do to continue to put pressure and stoke up the flame of this conversation. Hey, Cleveland, here you are. You watch another clip. This guy in the deposition not answering a question that smoothly. Do you like this guy as a quarterback? He's going to continue to bring this stuff up until this gets settled or he gets the result he wants out of this.
Yeah. The reality is that he's trying to increase the settlement pressure on Deshaun Watson, and this is a way to do it. Dribs and drabs of pieces of his deposition aimed at sparking discussions like the one we're having now, and we'll see what else comes out there. And we'll see if Rusty Hardin, who represents Deshaun Watson, ever responds in kind with clips of pieces of depositions of the individuals who are suing Deshaun Watson that may make them look not credible. Will they go that far with it? That will be interesting to see, because I know in the past what Harden has tried to do when he's had periodic press conferences, try to lay out some facts that would suggest there were credibility issues with the 22 plaintiffs. Those efforts have fallen flat. They never got the traction. I know they were frustrated that, why aren't people writing about these holes in the arguments that the 22 individuals are making? Well, one of the realities is we don't know who these people are. They're not Deshaun Watson. They're not the public figure. So they are less likely to be scrutinized and criticized publicly. And you really need to have a silver bullet. If you're going to take on an allegation that someone is making that they were in any way the victim of sexual misconduct, you better be able to hit the bullseye with it, or you're going to end up looking like someone who is just trying to nitpick and come up with a reason to not believe somebody who otherwise has not given us any reason for us to not believe them. So it's a delicate balance. It's a dangerous game to be played. But if there is some clip from one or more of these individuals that can be played at some point, I suspect it's going to be leaked to the media just like the Watson excerpt was, because it's fair game. There's no court order preventing this from happening.
When does the NFL make a decision here? Why? At some point, I would think they got to do something to inform the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson. What does it matter about the civil cases now? Why? I mean, there's an issue here. Whatever, we know it. The NFL, under the personal conduct policy, they have every right to give Deshaun Watson a suspension here. What do you think they're waiting for here? Why not get it already out there? Get a new thing out there for the fans that are mad at this. They go all right, yeah, he got signed, but now we're going to take care of him and get suspended. That might appeal to some of those people right now who are putting some backlash out there about Watson and, of course, a monumental contract after he sat out of football for a year.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.